Welcome to the Breakup Recovery Podcasts by your host, Barbara Stevens. Discover the wisdom and remarkable insights of Barbara Stevens, breakup recovery mentor, author, and public speaker. Barbara offers programs and solutions for any breakup so you can turn your life around, create lasting changes for the better, and embrace life again.
Hello and welcome to my podcast, Breakup Recovery. This is episode number 020. I'm Barbara Stevens, and I have with me today a lady that has agreed to share her story with us all. Her name is Marleen. Now, Marleen is a fitness coach, an author, and works with women one-on-one to cultivate self-love. This interview has been recorded on Skype, and you might be able to hear the rain in the background. So, welcome, Marleen.
Hello, Barbara.
Can you briefly tell me about your relationship, how you met your ex-partner, and how long you were together for?
So I met my ex-partner here in Australia. He was a foreign exchange student, and I met him through a work colleague. We started dating, and he moved in shortly after because he was very uncomfortable staying with his cousin at the time. We lasted for about four and a half years, broke up, and then got back together 6 months later, and lasted together for about another year before the same issues resurfaced and we broke up for the final time.
So the challenges were the same the first time you broke up and the second time you broke up?
Yes, the same reoccurring issues that I had thought in our 6-month breakup that we had grown past and overcome and matured from. I was actually extremely wrong about that, and all the same issues resurfaced very, very quickly. And when they did, that's when I emotionally shut down involuntarily. It was just a defense mechanism.
So, in terms of emotionally, what emotions were you going through when you broke up?
A lot of self-doubt, questioning myself, wondering why I didn't see the signs the first time, why I was foolish enough to give it a second chance. A lot of fear about whether or not I was making the right decision, if I was going to spend the rest of my life alone and in regret. Yeah, I would say that would sum it up. A lot of self-doubt and fear. I felt like I'd lost myself in the relationship as well, and was struggling to reconnect with who I really am.
So what things did you put in place to get through your breakup and move forward?
The number one thing is I kept myself very busy. So I remember sitting down and making a list of the things that I love. So things that I'm passionate about, things that make me happy. And they included things like singing, working out, spending time with family and good friends, being out in nature. And I made sure to implement those things. So I enrolled myself in singing classes. I made sure to train 4 times a week and to actively ensure that I spend time with family and friends, or my support system, really. I also refocused on my personal goals and my career goals and thought about what is it that I feel I've been put on this earth to create or to achieve, and then set out how I would get there. And in doing those two things, refocusing on what I'm passionate about and things that make me happy, I felt like I was rediscovering and reconnecting with myself all over again.
Do you think that was a hard process for you, Marleen?
Absolutely, it was hard. Throughout it all, of course, you always have moments where you reflect back and question a lot of things, and at times you try to keep yourself distracted to not think about it, which has its positives in one regard, but on the other hand, you do need to sit down with yourself and think about things not from an emotional place, but more from a logical place. And that's why it's often good after a breakup to focus first on reconnecting with yourself and re-identifying what it is that you're passionate about and what it is that you want to get out of your life, and put those things in motion and kind of let the heightened emotions settle down before you go back and say, okay, let's look at what happened, so that I'm not coming from a place of being a victim, but I'm coming from a place of feeling empowered, and I'm able to identify what signs did I not pay enough attention to, and how can I make things different for myself in the future. So, for example, I recognized that I hadn't always spoken up and said, how I felt about certain things or what I really wanted, and in that way kind of left things open for the other person to have things done their way as opposed to mine.
So did you think your relationship was a one-way relationship where your ex-partner was very much stronger than what you were? You felt that you went along with everything that he wanted you to do?
I wouldn't say that he was stronger, but I'd say that he grew up in a different environment to mine. I grew up in a family and culture where, as a woman, it's better to have no voice than to have, a positive voice. And he grew up in a westernized culture where speaking his mind and, saying what he wants and what upsets him is a very normal and natural thing. So I'd say he was just better voice than I was, but I wouldn't say he was controlling.
Okay, so do you think the end of your relationship has helped you to find your voice?
Absolutely, yes. I feel that especially having broken up and gotten back together, I'd say in the second part of our relationship, I absolutely found my voice, and I'd say 200% honest in sharing with him exactly how I felt and what my fears and my concerns were and where my doubts stemmed from. And it's because that I found my voice and expressed all those things to him and didn't really feel that his reaction came naturally, but rather it was forced. That's what helped me sort of identify that, yep, this is not a relationship that I can see continuing long term.
In terms of finding your voice after your relationship, do you think that also moved over into all other aspects of your life? Or did you already have a voice in all the other aspects of your life, your business life and your friends and family?
No, I'd say I didn't have a voice in a lot of those areas, actually. And it's not something that you just find and, boom, it's there. But it's something that you recognize and you have to practice over and over again. And it takes a lot of courage to speak up and show your vulnerable sides to people and say, listen, when you say this and when you do this, I feel, this way or that way. Or to even think about disappointing somebody by saying no to them. All of those things are things that I still practice till today. And it just comes down to learning to be true to myself and to honor my own personal perspective rather than stifling my own voice and going along with everything to avoid rocking the boat.
Well, how do you feel about your relationship now that you look back onto it?
Initially, I felt, oh my God, how did I waste 7 years of my 20s, with the same person? But looking back now, I'm actually quite thankful for it because I feel that when you have something in your life, for example, you're not speaking up or you're not letting your voice be heard, the universe will keep throwing at you people, situations, and events that highlight that for you until you have that realization and change something about yourself. And then what you attract into your life changes. So I'm not upset with my ex. I'm not, there's no sense of resentment. There's just a clear understanding of, what it is that I had to learn from that relationship about myself. And you learn your biggest lessons from the hardest times. So they're actually blessings in disguise. So all that sense of hurt and, feeling like I was a victim and I was taken advantage of has really, or is still kind of evolving, to a different perspective where it's more empowering. Like I see the signs, I see the message, I see the change that needs to happen. And by making that change, I'm taking my power back and I'm taking control over my life rather than always looking in the past and being a victim of it.
That's a good way to look at things, definitely. Do you carry that over into your work life as well?
Yes, I do. It's the same thing. I run my own businesses and I have clients that I have to deal with day in and day out. And yeah, it's the same thing. I need to learn to speak up more and enforce my terms and conditions rather than always, giving people the benefit of the doubt and letting things slide because people do take advantage of it and you can't blame them. You only have yourself to blame because you didn't uphold your own terms and conditions.
Tell me a little bit more about your work with women for self-love.
Well, I grew up obese, and I used to eat my lunch hidden in bathroom stalls at school so that the other kids wouldn't make fun of me. So I grew up with very low self-esteem and a complete misunderstanding of what self-love is. I thought self-love was very selfish and egotistical rather than a healthy thing. And I did lose my first 20 kilos, but it was very, very hard. It was mostly nutrition and exercise based. But I always struggled to keep those 20 kilos off, and to lose the other 12 kilos just seemed impossible. And it wasn't until I discovered that our bodies are a reflection of our relationships with ourselves that I started to pay more attention to my relationship with myself. And I remember identifying some of the things that my inner voice would say to myself. And we all have that inner voice, that talks incessantly. But I remember looking in the mirror and just hearing that inner voice say, you're fat and ugly, or you're not good enough. And I just thought, I don't have any kids yet, but if I had kids, that's something I would never ever say to them. And that's the platform that I use now for identifying whether or not I'm treating myself with love. So if I find myself saying something negative to myself, or something demeaning that I wouldn't say to a close friend or my niece or my future kids, then I don't say it to myself. So this is what I teach to my clients and the women that I work with, is paying attention to your inner thoughts and paying attention to the things that you do, and identifying whether it's coming from a place of self-love or lack of self-worth. So with weight loss, for example, a lot of women will self-sabotage their weight loss endeavors because they just don't have that belief that they're capable of or worthy of having the body of their dreams and, being attractive and beautiful and sexy. So that's what we do. We work on reprogramming those thoughts that automatically occur. So at first it's a very conscious thing that you do, and after a while it becomes subconscious, where the inner voice becomes your biggest supporter rather than your biggest sabotager.
Wow, that sounds like a great service that you offer to women.
Yes, and one that I hope to spread all over the world.
Thank you, Marleen, for sharing your story, your insights and ideas, and thank you for your honesty. And I'm sure that many women out there can relate to your story and have found strength from it. And good luck with your business in helping women gain more self-love. I think that's a really important business, and one that it's very fortunate that they have you there to help them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time, Barbara. It's been an absolute pleasure being a part of your project that's dedicated towards helping women feeling empowered and able to move on post a traumatic breakup.
If you would like to hear previous Breakup Recovery podcasts, visit barbarastevens.com.au. Connect with Barbara Stevens on social media with Barbara Stevens Breakup Recovery Mentor on Facebook and at You'll Be Okay on Twitter. Read further blogs, view webinar replays, and download your free ebook, 3 Easy Steps to Surviving Your Breakup, and much more at barbarastevens.com.au.